everybody, welcome. I've got a very special guest today, and today we're talking all about selling content, because what is the point of creating all of this content, doing all of this work to market your products and services if it's not actually going to turn into any results? And my special guest today is the queen of selling content, so I thought she would be a fantastic guest to bring on and share some of her golden nuggets with you and give you some tips and things to think about to see how you might be able to sort of tweak your content and make it perform better. So welcome, Nadine. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to be here. I'm really excited. I think we've been having a lot of conversations in DMs over the last number of months. So it's actually so lovely to actually come on and have a conversation about what we were talking about.
I know, and it's one of the things, isn't it, with social media, because I'm not very good at actually talking to people. I'm a bit of a lurker. I will follow people and people will follow me, but it's not often that I get into DMs that often. It's probably something that I need to do more of. But yeah, I don't even know how we kind of got connected, but I love kind of following your content and just seeing how you do things has helped me. And I've been learning some things along the way and thinking, oh, how might I tweak my own content and strategy? And yeah, we've kind of had some cool conversations. And so I just knew that what you've got to talk about and the things that you're really passionate about sharing and teaching your clients and stuff is just going to be such a valuable message to share to anybody that finds this episode on whatever format it is found on. So I would love for people just to kind of hear a bit about you. So just tell people a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what you kind of do, and how you got into this business.
So God, where do you start? So I suppose about 2.5 years ago, just over 2.5 years ago, I had actually come back for my third time of leaving the country. For every 2 years since I was 21, I'm 30 now. Every 2 years since I was 21, I would leave the country, and I had a career for 10 years where I worked with people in psychology and disadvantaged backgrounds and everything that was to do with the mind and talk therapies. And as much as I love that work that I did, and I, honest to God, I love that work. I couldn't have at the time ever imagined myself doing something else. I couldn't stand the cycle I was in. I always loved traveling the world. Like since I was 21, I moved to Turkey, and ever since that, I had left for 8 months at a time. I'd come back, I'd be flat broke, and then I wouldn't struggle to get a job because I was quite good at what I did. I can say that hand on heart because I loved it and I loved the work it was. But I would end up back in the same cycle where I was just, going back to work, saving for 2 years, saving X amount of money, leaving and booking the flights, leaving for another 10 months or 8 months or whatever it was, coming back. And I was literally coming into the third end of that cycle for the 6th year.
Yeah.
And I was like, there has to be another way. I was like, there has to be another way. So but there has to be something else besides having to go broke to do something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But also being able to see the world at the same time because it's something else that you're passionate about. So
did you work when you were away for 8-10 months, or was it just pure kind of holiday type thing?
Well, a couple of times, when I moved to Turkey, that I didn't work at all. I had saved and I had just kept my money. Then the second time that I left, I worked in marketing when I worked in Portugal. I got a job over there in marketing, and it was all in-person marketing. But I really I was really interested in it because I could see how psychology and sales psychology was coming into it very naturally.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I'm good at this. I was like, I'm actually quite good. And it was my first experience of being able to work abroad in a job that I didn't have to be stagnantly in the job to earn money for. But again, obviously I was stagnant where I was then in Portugal. So I had to come back, start that process again. And then the second time that I worked abroad was in marketing, but was in Greece.
Okay.
And again, I was working, I was getting income, and then I left Greece and I went to travel Southeast Asia at the time. And I did 8 months in Southeast Asia, came back, I did 12 countries in total, loved it, came back, and I was like, I can't keep this up. I was like, I come back and I start the process, and there has to be a way to marry the two. And what I realized was I always thought to myself, because I had such a long career in what I did and I loved it, I thought that's all that I was meant for. I thought, why would you ruin this on yourself? You leave the country, you walk into jobs. It's not the worst paying job in the whole world, and you've got a good skill and you enjoy it. So why do you want to leave it? Why would you leave something you're good at to test and try something that you don't even know is going to work?
Yeah.
But the other half of me was like, you can't do this for the rest of your life. Like when the older I get, the less broke I want to be. And I wasn't setting myself up for something that I could do sustainably. You know, at that point I had got back from South America and I was 27 going 28. And I was like, as much as I love the free spirit part, I was starting to want to move more into, I could leave the country for X amount of weeks or X amount of months and have a sustainable income at the same time while doing something I loved. So then I stumbled across this virtual assistant course, and that was the end. That was the beginning of a whole new world for me, because I just wanted, to be honest with you, I just wanted to be able to like go to a country for 4 weeks without having to ask for time off.
Yeah,
that's the way it started. I was like, if I can just get some side money and then like this can be like a part-time, I'll be happy with that. And then it just took off in itself, because I did the virtual assistance course and got set up, and I was just a general VA for like a week until I realized there's so many things that if somebody was to hand me their admin at the time, I would have hated it. Yeah. I don't even like my own admin. It was the first thing I outsourced my business as soon as I could. So I very quickly pivoted into social media marketing and becoming a social media manager. And I was doing it on the side. I was still working in my full-time job and I was building my business up. And I was terrified because I had never put myself out on social media like that before. Within 2 weeks, I had signed my first client through my content on Instagram.
Amazing.
And I was like, God, it's taken off. And within 6 weeks, I became fully booked through my content.
Wow.
Alone. And to this day, I'll just give you like the full run through. I have never cold DM'd a single person.
I have never. Cold DMs are the worst.
They're the worst. They are the worst. But people always say to me, do you teach that, or is that what you've done to come so far? I have never even involuntarily ended up in a DM without somebody inviting me into it through my content. And yeah, within the 2 weeks I had my first client. Within 6 weeks I was fully booked. And then that's when a shift started happening. So it happened quite early in my business. And at this point, I was starting to reduce my hours and work so I could take on more clients in my business. And I was like, oh my God, so it's working. Something's happening. I didn't even expect it to. And then people started to approach me and said to me, Nadine, I don't really want you to do my marketing, but I'd love you to teach me how to do my own marketing now.
Oh, okay. So they kind of, your clients sort of helped you pivot into that direction, which quite often happens. Like I know I get inspired to do things from people. That's my kind of human design. I'm a manifesting generator and it's all about being responsive. So if someone goes, oh, I want this, I'm like straight on it. Yes, give it to me. That's great that came from your clients, like, or prospective clients. It was like, actually, yeah, we don't want the done for you. Like teach me to fish rather than just give me the fish.
Literally. And it kind of made sense to me. Like all of a sudden it just clicked, because I have spent 10 years working with people, empowering them, empowering them to make choices, building awareness for themselves, empowering them to be able to like be self-fulfilled and do things for themselves, rather than having something being done for them and they don't know how. If that person was to go away, they don't know how to do it themselves. Then that leaves them stranded. So as soon as people started to approach me to do coaching with them and strategies instead of just doing it for them, I was like, how did I not see this coming? It was like such a natural progression, because naturally I had spent my whole life. So why wouldn't I want to empower these people building dream businesses and building it in the right direction at like an accelerated pace, rather than just hoping for the best, throwing spaghetti at the wall, giving up when it's not working. And then it's not just your business that you give up on, it's your dream, it's the lifestyle that comes with your business, it's the entire package that comes with that. And as soon as it started, like I remember I took on my first ever coaching call and I remember thinking, that's it, I'm not doing social media management anymore. I was like, this is for me. This is the way forward.
Yeah. I think there's so much to be said, like you mentioned, about empowering people. I'm exactly the same, like I love kind of techie stuff. I love funnels and automation. I love stuff like that. And I get people going, can you do it for me? And I'm like, I would much rather teach you, because it's going to be a lot more time consuming for me from a selfish point of view, but also more importantly, I want people to know how to do things. Doesn't matter what it is, because I've been on the other end where I've coached people who had somebody build out their website and their funnels and do all this, and they didn't have a clue how to use it. If they wanted to make edits to their own stuff, they were clueless. I'm like, yes, there's a time and a place to outsource and use some of those done for you services, but you also need to take responsibility to go, what if this person was to quit, or what if this something was to break and this person wasn't available, or like whatever scenario. As business owners, we need to be able to do some core things, especially online where there's so many different things. So I love the fact that the empowerment piece is massive, because I don't think people realize how much learning a skill that can literally help them in so many areas of their business. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think not enough people are almost willing to learn those skills. It's like, I'll just pay someone to do it for me. But it's like, well, it's more short-term thinking rather than long-term.
100%. I have this conversation all the time with business owners who say to me, but Nadine, I don't even see the need in investing in coaching when I plan to outsource. I'm planning to outsource my marketing long term anyway. So why would I need to learn this skill? And I say, regardless if your long term plan is to outsource or to become the marketer you've always wanted to be for yourself and do it for yourself, you're still not going to be able to outsource what you yourself don't understand. So if you were to bring somebody on to outsource your marketing to, and they say to you, well, what would you like inside your posts? Who do you want to speak to? What offers do you want to market? Who is this offer for? Etc., etc. What makes you the expert to teach this? And you haven't done the foundational work to be able to actually answer those questions. You're going to find yourself in a position in a number of years where you are just firing and letting go of every single social media manager that you hire, because they're not producing what you want. But actually they don't actually know what you want, because you don't know what you're talking about.
And
you don't know the details.
It's got to have the personal voice in it. Like, I know 100%. That people will most likely, they'll know from reading an email of mine, this is how I talk in videos, because I write as I talk. If I was to suddenly have even AI, like using AI and stuff, it's like I still have to put my personality, my wording, how I use things in it. And somebody else, whether it's an AI or it's a person, they need to know how you talk and how you phrase things. And like, where's you? Because otherwise just hit a switch and have a robot do everything for you. It's like, especially if it's a personal brand business, your content has to have you in it. So it's just a bit lazy, really, isn't it? It's like, just do the work, it's
like, I get it. I totally get it, because there's a lot of resistance. Like, there's levels to resistance when you're building your business. Like, firstly, you won't have any business whatsoever if you don't learn how to market it. And even if your plan out, like, long term is to outsource, because there's a lot of things, even with funnels or automations and things like that, there's a lot of things you can do manually at the very start of your business when you're growing it. That you can actually learn to do yourself. Yes, it's a slower pace, but you know that over time you can do it manually, you'll get faster, and then eventually you'll lead to automation, because naturally, as you then scale your business, you won't be able to do everything manually yourself. But when it comes to content marketing and just general marketing for your business, the part that people miss is that even if your plan is to outsource long term, if you don't build your foundations, if you don't know your expertise, if you're not sure who your ideal client is that you want to work with in the future with is, if you don't know who you want to attract, if you don't know the language that you want to use, even if you brought somebody on who has an expertise in that, they're going to need you to fill those gaps, just like AI, just like somebody else.
AI needs you to give those specific
they literally need you to prompt them as to what it is. And the thing is like, I remember as a social media manager working with both sides of the coin. I remember working with people who had done the foundational work and knew what they wanted, and the other person who said, make it whatever you want. But the person who says, make it whatever you want, didn't want what I had to give them, because it wasn't what they had imagined in their mind, which was some imaginary thing that I couldn't see for myself because I can't see into their mind. So no matter what I produce for them, they had critique. It wasn't exactly what they wanted. But when I actually stepped back, I was like, this is not about me. This is actually about the fact that this business owner hasn't built their own foundations well enough to outsource this in the first place.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think there's so many people that doesn't matter if they're new to business, they've been doing it for, I mean, I'm 8 years in and I'm like nowhere near I thought I would be. And that's just a part of it. It's just the journey of life and business. You know, there's been ups, downs, you know, whatnot. But it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. Outsourcing is likely going to come up at some point, you know, unless you haven't, you know, not everyone has like gigantic goals, but most people have big enough goals that they're probably going to need to have somebody to support them. And so I think that's a really good point, just in general with like outsourcing tips, is get your shit together. You need to have that clarity to know, to be able to pass that off. It's no good saying to somebody, yep, do this process, and it's in your head. You've got to know what that process is, document it, and then you can obviously tell somebody else. But yeah, if you don't even know who your ideal client or customer is, then you need to hang on, you know, and do things. So I love that you brought that up. So I think that's a really good point for people to hear. And inside of this episode is just remember that if you're thinking of outsourcing, at least get some of your ducks in a row, make sure that you've got that clarity and written down somewhere that you can then pass that over. Because yeah, you can't expect people to read your mind when it comes to doing work for you. They're going to be like,
Oh, 100%. And it's even like with things for yourself, because when we talk about building your personal brand and how like your business is built off a personal brand, because naturally anybody who's a service provider or has an online business, 9 times out of 10, unless it's product based, if you are a service based provider, you are your brand. Like what makes you, your expertise, your background, your values, your business values, and how you do things and say things, that's what's going to make your brand attractive, because none of us are going to be reinventing the wheel. For every one of you, there's 10 more of you. So the only thing that's going to make you stand out to your audience and to your ideal client is your personal branding. And that comes down to how you speak about things that you value in yourself, that you want your ideal client to also have a connection with you in that, not just any random value. But then also it comes down to the language you use. Like you said, the AI, or if you weren't going to outsource, for example, or even if you're doing it for yourself, there has to be a consistency, even in the language that you use, how you describe things, down to your emojis. It's going to make a difference. And I think people miss this. Now that's getting very finicky, obviously, but people will start to recognize your personal branding just by the smaller things, just by the emojis you often use, how you describe things, why you link back to why you even built your business in the first place. And that will cause that connection to build, and in turn that trust to build. And that will make you stand out against the other 10 people who are doing the exact same as you, not in reinventing the wheel, but they're going to be attracted to your way, your reason, your why, your how, and you as a business owner.
So what do you see when you're on Instagram and you're looking at other people and you know, when you're even taking on new clients? What are those like big things that scream at you that you're just going, oh, you kind of want to shake people a bit? What do you see those? I mean, I think you've kind of covered some of them anyway, but you know, to just kind of bring it into a sort of concise point, like what do you see as those biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to posting on Instagram and you know, social media?
Oh God, that is a big world out there, because there's like anybody who knows me and sees my content knows that I speak a lot on subjects, and it's more so from a passion and empowerment side, because like I said, we don't just set up our businesses to see if we can make a little bit of money on the side. Anybody, and I had a pet peeve in this, and I'll probably reiterate it here, which is when people call themselves a small business owner, they work within that small business energy. So they only see themselves or what's happening right now in their business, week to week, day to day, but they're not building their business based on what they want to project themselves to be like in 6 months or a year or 2 years from now. So in turn, even with that, even when they're describing how they work with somebody, they say things like, work with me for as low as, or I will give anything that you want. If you work with me, I can make this fully customizable. I can make this exactly as you want it. Give me the things you hate, or we can work on any of your problems. Like, say it's more like a service provider who's working like in more the life coach industry or the healing industry. I can work with you on any of your emotions to help you to love yourself or reduce your stress or feel calmer. And they are thinking about that client in the there and then moment, what they can help that client with in that day, say they work with them. But they don't see beyond what they can actually build for that client. What is that client on a bigger scale working towards? And therefore, what is your business working towards on a business on a bigger scale? You are not just like a clog in the wheel of a day in a life of somebody. You can actually be making the biggest movement and biggest shift by working with your ideal client if they knew to work with you in the first place. And if you could see that you're actually building an empire based on a movement that you believe your expertise can build. So the bigger picture for that ideal client. And what I see is people starting off their business very small, talking about themselves in a very, like, I suppose the only way I could describe it would be to talk down about themselves and talk down about their expertise and talk about themselves as if they're affordable and as if they're cheap and as if like, oh, you can work with me in the most affordable way and I'm going to have this. They don't recognize their impact. They don't recognize the impact that their business is going to have by working with their ideal client in the first place. And I think that is the biggest mistake I see, which is people coming in, calling themselves a small business owner and seeing their life day to day.
It's the language, isn't it, that we use ourselves, and it is. And I think it's just human nature, but we do tend, and maybe it's probably especially us kind of British and European people, but we do tend to downplay ourselves. Like we dumb down our brilliance, and it's like, no. And I think that is just part of the personal development journey and side of business. It's like, actually, no, shout about yourself, big yourself up, because at the end of the day, who else is? You haven't got a boss to go, well done, I'm going to give you a 100%. Employee of the month kind of thing. It's like, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, nobody else, well, I mean, hopefully some people will, like your clients will rave about you, but at the end of the day, do it. People aren't going to know how brilliantly you are and your expertise unless you tell them. And it is a journey. It's not always easy to do in the beginning, but it's definitely worth it. Because like you say, the language and the terminology, saying small, cheap, as low as, and things like that, you are, without realizing, you're subconsciously keeping yourself small and attracting people that are skint and don't have any money because they're looking for cheaper. And I love that. Do you know what? That's not what I thought you were going to say at all. And I love it. I'm so glad that it wasn't what I expected.
Well, I think what you probably were expecting was probably what comes off the back of that, which is more than likely that the person is then going to speak in a lot of ways in the language that they use in their content, that then, like you just said, attracts the wrong type of person. It attracts the wrong type of people, the people who tell you they can't afford you, they're not ready for you yet. Is there a way we can reduce that price? They don't work with you in long-term retainers because they don't trust you yet to invest in a long-term container. And in turn, it has a knock-on effect that your business doesn't grow. So, and I suppose the biggest part of that is learning what your expertise is from very early on in your business. A lot of people wait around, and they may wait like 3, 6 months, a year, even more. I've seen people come to me after 2.5 years who were in the same position as somebody I worked with in the first 3 months that they've established a business, because they didn't get to the crux of what makes them an expert, how to adjust that mindset of becoming an expert in what you do and not trying to be everything to everybody, really honing in on that specialist skill and showing up as it, speaking like one, coming across like that, because the knock-on effect in how you speak and about yourself in your content, but also when you're speaking to potential clients, will make a massive difference between if they see you as somebody they can trust because of your expertise to see the transformations that they want and the results, or if they see you as someone that they're going to be questioning of, you look like you know a little bit about it, but you also talk about 10 other things that you can help me with. And I'm not really sure what you're an expert in. So I'd rather invest in someone with an expertise. And
yeah, I get it. Like because I'm very multi-passionate and multi-skilled, and I have to be careful because I could teach people so many different things.
yeah,
But it is about recognizing, because for me personally, I got stuck in this whole thing of, well, everyone like says pick a lane and like that's your lane. And I remember saying to a mentor once, I was like, but I don't know necessarily what exact lane mine is. And he said, build your own fucking lane. And that has stuck with me forever, because at the end of the day, I'm not a one thing, but it is about, even if you are multi-passionate and you've got multi-skills and stuff, you can still create that messaging that encompasses those things together. Like obviously running a business consists of marketing, making an offer, revenue, doing the admin stuff, like mindset, so many different things. But it's a way of, how do you get across what is that overarching thing that can be your specialism, and you can still have your things kind of in it. Like I'm trained in rapid transformational therapy, which is a form of hypnotherapy. I do energy clearing. I don't do much of it, but I've got those there. But my core skills is, I love talking about systemizing things, streamlining things as much as possible, so you have got more time. You know, that's the thing that I talk about. And it can take a little while to get there. And we evolve as people, don't we? Like throughout your journey, you evolve, things change, and that's fine. That's normal. But then again, it's like, if you've got a process to help you redefine, okay, based on maybe now what I really want to focus on doing, and oh, actually I've kind of found this new love for something, or a new skill that I didn't quite know I was so excited about. I think having a process that you can go, right, based on now and my future that I now want, how do I now get this messaging to be bang on? How do I now make sure that I'm still talking to the right people? I'm not attracting the old people that I used to. Like I've changed audiences a couple of times, and it took me a long time to get out of that. I don't want to talk, not that I've got anything against them, but I'm like, I don't want to talk to that niche anymore, because I'm not in it. That's not me. This is new me. So I think kind of having that process to do that, if you evolve and you transition and your business pivots, I think is so beneficial.
100%, because I actually pivoted slightly in my messaging. If you followed me from like 2 years ago to now, my messaging completely pivoted. I used to be very much focused on, so there's 2 points of this. The first one is that I pivoted. So I used to be very much focused on building engagement, building your followers, how to get more of this, how to get more comments, how to create a very warm community so that you have this and that, and the importance of building the community connection and building an engaged community, pretty much. So one that looked very active.
Yeah.
And in turn, I can't say anything. I had a lot of amazing clients that I worked with, and they wanted to work on that, and I worked on them goals. But unfortunately, it wasn't the bigger picture of a business that I was working on. It was the everyday things that somebody could do to increase view times, and how to get more engagement, and how to get more comments and likes and more followers. And
which at the end of the day, that doesn't pay your bills, does it?
Yeah.
If you got loads of comments. So yeah.
100%. See, my messaging was always similar, that it had to be from your ideal client, and that it had to be from somebody that was going to actually eventually become a paid client for you in some way, shape or form down the line. But it wasn't in the way that I describe it now. I was almost had an undertone of what I was speaking about all the time at that point. But if you look, like, and my content is still there. If you looked back, I never delete anything.
Yeah.
Because I love to watch the progress of what I was then compared to what I am now.
Yeah.
But in turn, now in my messaging, when I pivoted to how I speak now, which is very business orientated, it's about creating programs that you love, building a business time frame on what you love, having a revenue, having an income that's going to fund your business and your life. On the back of it. Yes, I do speak about how to like engage your community. I do talk about how to get content that your ideal client is going to feel like, oh my God, you're in their head about. which in turn does relate in the metrics. It does relate in how people are going to follow you. It does relate in building that ideal client base for yourself, for your offers, but from a different perspective, because the person I was speaking to before was very based on analytics and their metrics and what was going to get them the most likes and the most views, and hopefully they were going to convert to paid clients. Now the person I speak to and the way that I teach is very much based on business and business growth and business scaling. And okay, I don't even teach metrics anymore. Like if inside any of my programs, I don't even teach a person how to read their metrics on Instagram. It's the last thing I actually get them to even speak about. It doesn't even come into play anymore. And in turn, the person that I'm calling in to my offers are the most aligned clients I've ever worked with, who can see themselves as bigger than what they have now. They're people who can project and see themselves in 6 months to a year, because they're not focused on, oh my God, that last post got 5 likes. That's not the type of content. Whereas that 5 liked post is probably what's going to convert into a paid client, because it's speaking so directly to your ideal client that they don't even want to let you know they've been triggered by that post, but they are. So your metrics aren't even going to show that, but it will show in how many inquiries and paid clients you end up with. And the massive shift, because when I made that pivot, it was crazy. And even for myself, it was difficult because I was speaking to a new audience as well. And with that came its own changes for me, but for the better, because as soon as you start to see your business for bigger than what it is right now, that's when you'll start to see the role you play in someone's life or business. Like the trajectory of that is ridiculously big, and it's incredible what you can achieve when you see the bigger picture.
I love what you just said, because I'm such a numbers girl. I love metrics and stuff, and the fact that my module that I'm creating for my program right now is all about metrics and stuff. But I think that's a really good point, because I think especially on social media, not so much other ways to market, because there's so many ways that you can market your business, but I think for social media in particular, it's not all about the metrics, because at the end of the day, like, I can't remember if I said this at the beginning or before we started recording, but I'm a lurker. Like, I'm the kind of person that I will watch people's stories, and I don't comment, I don't message them. I might give them a like, and I might interact on the odd poll or something, but I'm not. And there's lots of people like that. There's lots of people that will watch your videos, but they don't comment, they don't like it, they just sit back and they're taking it in. And I've had people reach out and I'm thinking, who the hell are you? And they're saying, hey, can I work with you? And I'm like, where did you come from? You know, I've never spoken to you before, but they're like, I've been watching you for a while. And it happens. So I think that's a really good point, especially with Instagram and Facebook. It's, yes, metrics can give you a good insight. And I think other platforms, you know, general stuff, you absolutely need to know your metrics. But for social media in particular, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because people will be in the background and they won't actively always be like, I'm really interested in you. The fact that they are watching your content, they're watching your stories, they are, even if they do give a little like, but they don't message or things, just if people are seeing that they're watching every single one of your stories or every single one of your videos or whatever you're doing, they're there. It's just a case of when are they ready. So I love that you mentioned that, especially with me, because I'm such a geek when it comes to numbers and metrics. I love it because it does give you a story for the most part, but not all. So it's
100%. There, it does have a place. It does have a part to play, but not so much in the projection of what's going to get you the most likes and comments may not be what gets you the most clients. And this is where the differentiation is, because, for example, if I put up a picture of me and my mom, for sure it's going to get a load of pictures, it's going to get a load of comments and engagement, because people love to see the background in that in your life. And naturally it's going to be something that's related to your family, etc. But it's not going to get me a client. You know, it's not going to be something that tells that client anything about my values or my life or what values do we share. Yes, it's going to show them a little piece of it, but it's not to the extent of what it could be if I built a story around how I feel I got my work ethic from my mom. And if I shared a story about how my mom is such a hard worker and she's worked 7 days a week, half of her life, and I grew up seeing her giving me anything that I've ever wanted. And in turn, I've grown up knowing I can have whatever I want by working hard for it.
Yeah.
And if I made that story, that will show the values and the personal branding that we spoke about earlier, rather than just basing on something that's going to build me a metric, that's going to get me a like or a comment, and may help someone to see, like, this is my lovely mom. But if I show them how that's connected to my business, and show them how that's connected to me as a business owner, that will make the difference. So it's just those smaller perspective shifts in relation to that.
I think it's like when people are just trying to get a video to go viral and they'll do these trends and stuff, but it's like, if you're not even talking about your business, if it's just, I mean, I sometimes in the evening, I like to mess about on TikTok and do those funny, like, you know, filters, like, what Disney character are you? But I'm not going to post it. I just do it for fun and then I delete it. But I'm not going to post it because no one cares. And it's got nothing to do with my page and my business. So I don't want this video and then TikTok or whatever to push it on the For You page and have a load of random people then suddenly start following me. I don't care. I don't want you here. Like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, it's got to be intentional. And I think, with your content, again, your stories, that can be the place that you can do things like that. But when it's 100%. Sort of your sort of feed posts and the stuff that people are going to see who aren't following you, getting those brand new eyeballs on your content, it needs to be more related, doesn't it? So people can see, oh, this person talks about this, I'm interested in this topic, I'm gonna, you know, get in there and see what else they're about. 100%.
I think people confuse high metrics with conversion content, and unfortunately, and like what this entire topic is about, which is sales content, it's in selling content, it's what's going to actually get you conversions, what's going to get you inquiries, what's going to get you ideal clients who are willing to pay, that you don't have to convince to work with you. A lot of the time, your content should be doing the work for you. If you are focusing everything on a metric or something that's going to go viral, more than likely you're going to attract a lot of people who are not in the position that want to work with you or are prepared to pay you or invest in your services in any way, shape or form. But if you concentrate on the type of content, like you said, that's intentional, that's speaking directly to your ideal client, that positions you as an expert and builds that trust, you'll be very surprised how fast and how much easier sales become, because your content is doing the legwork for you. By the time that person comes to a DM or comes into a sales conversation or jumps on a discovery call, they don't need to be convinced that they can trust you. Your content's already done the work. By the time they should be in a DM conversation asking questions or on a discovery call, they're already half sold. You don't need to convince them that you know what you're doing or that you're worth investing in. It should be a point that you get into that conversation and they're like, oh, I just wanted to get the finer details. I just wanted to hear a bit more information. And then this is where the change happens. When you see that you have a bigger movement with your business and with the people that you work with, and that's portrayed through your content, that does the legwork, which takes that hard sales content out of the way. You no longer feel salesy because you help a person to see that I can see the problem that you have. I have the solution to that problem and I can see the bigger goal. And I'm going to help you to get to that. And then it comes from a place of empowerment rather than from a place of, I just want to make a sale. And then, by the time you get into a sales conversation with that person and they want to sign up to work with you or find out more information, you don't feel like you're selling to them. You feel like you're actually creating a movement for this person. Oh my God, this person is prepared and ready to make this massive shift in their business or in their life. And I'm about to be the person that helps them with that because they can see that I'm the solution and I'm the expert in this. So then you shift yourself. You're no longer feeling like, oh my God, I'm being so salesy. I don't want this person to feel like I'm hard selling to them, because you don't come from that place either.
No,
you don't come from, God, I hope this person believes in me and I hope this person I sign this client because God, I don't know where my next client is coming from, or I hope they think I'm good enough. You already know you're good enough. You already know your expertise is there. And the biggest problem that I come across is that a lot of my clients, they are experts in what they do, but they don't know how to put that language across. They don't know how to portray themselves in their content as experts. And as soon as we make certain shifts in their content strategy, they're like, I never knew it could be this easy. I never knew that it could feel like I'm actually enjoying the sales process. And it's because it's all built from seeing themselves as a bigger picture rather than the small business. And it's been able to see that their impact is greater than what happens just there and then in themselves.
Yeah, I love it. So what do you see as the biggest difference in terms of content to sell? How would you describe kind of, obviously I know you've talked about people need to kind of know their expertise and know who their ideal client is, but like what is one of, like a couple of big things that people can do, or just to see how they might make a shift in having content that actually is focused on sales?
Okay, so the first thing that everybody has to realize is that for their business, every piece of content they put onto their Instagram pages, for example, or any of their social media, is a sales piece of content. Every single piece of content that you'll ever put onto your business page is a sales piece of content. And I don't know, when I'm in foundations to fully booked with my clients, and they're usually first-year service providers who want to accelerate and build their business and accelerate signing clients, they are like, but I've heard about nurture content and behind the scenes content, and I've heard about educational content and promotional type of content. And I tell them it's all the same. It's all sales content, because without you having a sales mindset behind what you put on your page, it's going to just be you having a very expensive hobby. Because if it's not with the intention that everything you put on your page is to bring an ideal client closer to working with you, then what's the point? What is the whole point? The difference that I get a lot of the time with clients, though, is the difference between hard selling and soft selling, or in other words, direct sales versus indirect selling. How do you sell without selling, basically? How do you do it without actually doing that? And that comes back to the example that I gave earlier. For example, instead of sharing a family photograph or a photo of you with your friends, how can you link that back to your business values? How can you make that so that a piece of content that would be behind the scenes, showing what you did at the weekend, showing something about your personal life, for example, how can you link that back to your business? So basically, the rule of thumb here is every single piece of content that you put onto your page, whether that's a story, a reel, a single post, a carousel, it doesn't matter. It all has to be with the intention of, why does my ideal client have to see this? What about this is going to help my ideal client to see that I am the person that they would like to work with, that I'm a person that is going to connect with them on more levels than just business? What about me is going to stand out to that person? Okay, why does this ideal client have to know this about me? If you can tell that you're about to put something up on your page just for the sake of looking active, just for the sake of having something to post, I can tell you it's better not to post it.
Yeah.
Because your ideal client, if you just start posting content for the sake of it, it doesn't work the way you think it is. In fact, it'll deter people from looking at your content, because your ideal client, remember, it's like any business. If you walked into a shop and you couldn't see what you were looking for every time you walked in, you'd just stop going to the shop.
Yeah, that's true.
So but if that ideal client starts looking at your content and it's speaking to them in some way about you and your business and your offers and how you can help them in any way, shape, or form, one, it is a sales piece of content, but two, it sparks their interest to come back and learn more, because it's going to say to that person when they see it, oh, she can clearly see, or they can clearly see, I have this problem, because they talk about it so often. And they're also offering the solution, whether it's you did it for yourself or somebody else, or something about your personal life that you've overcome to solve a problem that they want. But this all goes back to the idea that every single piece of content is a sales piece of content, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise.
Yeah, I think when you think of sales content, you think of that more direct, like, here's my offer. But yeah, you're absolutely right, because every single piece of content needs to have a purpose, even if it is just, yes, I do want to talk about this one particular thing. Like I remember hearing you talk recently about people who share educational content, because I'm the tips queen. I love sharing stuff that I find, things that work. And I was like, okay. And so Nadine triggered me a bit. I was like, what? but at the end of the day, it still has an intention, because it's just a longer game in terms of I'm educating people. But there's always a call to action. And I think one thing that you mentioned is every piece is a sales piece of content. One thing I think that people resist when, like you said, it's how do I sell without selling? They feel icky about it. They're like, oh, I don't want to like piss people off. You're trying to either be too direct, or you don't know how you can weave in these things. And a lot of people are just afraid to ask. They're afraid to just give a simple call to action. If this calls to you in any way, if this resonated with you, if you're interested, if you want to learn more about XYZ, do this. It doesn't have to be, give me a cash right away. It could just be, if you want to chat through any more information. And so many people, they forget to even give any kind of call to action on their content. And it's like, dude, you are missing so many opportunities, even just for someone to go at their own pace. Even if they don't want to get into your DMs and talk to you yet, at least give them an option to go and explore and browse about, how can I go down this next step? It might be a freebie. It might be watching another video. It might be watching or joining a webinar. It might be whatever you want. But so many people just giving a simple call to action, that's like, oh, am I going to annoy them? No.
Yes. You know? And I come across this so often. I actually had a one-to-one client. I have a one-to-one client, I should say. And the reason that she signed with me, now she said she had been watching me for a very long time, but she said the one thing that pushed her, that activated her to actually reach out to work with me, was I was doing a live, and it was all about using call to actions and sales activation content that takes that person from through that journey of, hello, I see you have that problem. Hello, I am the solution. And hello, this is how you can work with me so that we solve this problem and bring you to that goal. And she said to me, I used an analogy in the live, and it was, if you're doing your content the way it's meant to, it should be bringing that ideal client on a journey of, I see you, I can see the problem that you have. Yes, I can totally understand why you haven't been able to solve it yet, but I can tell you I have the solution to it. And when you don't add in a call to action, you're saying, hello, I see you, I can help you, but go find out the answer yourself. Go fix it for yourself. Because if at that moment that you don't use a call to action to tell that person, well, now that you can see, I can see that you have the issue, I can see that I have the solution, and you don't use a call to action, you're literally leaving that ideal client hanging in the balance.
They're like, great, now I know I've got a problem. What do I do now? Thanks 100%,
100%. And I use that analogy like in a broader term in the live, and I just said to them, think about it again, reframe your mind as an empowerment piece. You've just told this client, who feels more than likely like they're the only person experiencing the problem that they have, that they're the only person in the world going through it. No, listen, I have helped myself, I've helped somebody else through this, and I can see the problem you have. I have overcome this through the solution, and you're telling them this in your content. And then the CTA, the call to action, is where you tell this person, and if you're ready to make this shift for yourself, I'm going to be the person to help you do this. And if you want that support, reach out, DM me the word X. Go to the link in my bio, hit this engagement sticker. But then you're telling that person, I've just ramped you up, I've just revved your engines, and you are so activated right now. And if you don't use a call to action, you're literally leaving that person on a high. And then they're like, oh, I guess I'll just go Google the answer then of how I can.
And somebody else is going to benefit from your work and your
100%.
Like somebody else who posts with maybe a similar offer or a similar message, and they're like, oh, well, this, I know what to do with this person. It's like, don't ever assume that people will just do it. Some people, yes, some people are, they're built that way, that they will go, I'm going to seek out this person and I'm going to go, right, I've been watching you, I want to work with you. Not everyone will do that. Sometimes you just have to remind people and tell them what to do, because everyone's process is different. Some people like calls. I hate calls. Some people like, I'm a go to this link kind of thing, or we can chat a little bit in DMs, but everyone is different. Everyone has their preferences and things of how they like to, from the business owner perspective, that person's going to have their own process. And also, I think you also need to cater for the different ways that the consumer might reach out, because if you are forcing people to get on a call with you and people hate calls, I'm gonna be like, no thanks, I'd rather not, unless it is so good that it's like, if you can't find out the price unless you jump on a call, I'm out, like I'm done.
100%. And I think that's also a big thing with people. I have a bit of a pet peeve, especially when people are just releasing a brand new offer, or if they're new into services and they're building that trust with their audience and they're building the momentum. One of my pet peeves, and I'm going to get a lot of stick for this, but is when people say they don't get their call to action is to check out the link in their bio that's to a website. because you're asking that person, okay, now that you're kind of interested and I have a bit of your trust, can you please go to a completely different platform? Get off Instagram, take yourself completely off the app, go to my other form of platform, find out more information, and take 3 extra steps before you can actually reach out to work with me. You need to be able to make the buyer's process easy, streamlined. That doesn't mean that they have to jump on a call with you. It doesn't mean that they have to just stay in DMs with you either. But you need to make it as easy as possible, because your longer term clients, the people who have built up trust with you, whether they've worked with you or not, they may love searching on your website. And I'm not going to diss websites by any means. I have a lot of landing pages where I send people to a lot of other places too. But especially if you are in a place where you're either brand new or like built in that trust building stage of your business with your audience, or if you have a brand new offer and you're trying to get them, funnel them into that offer, you want to make the sales process as easy as possible, which is why you can have even multiple call to actions, but make it as easy as possible to be able to get in contact with you and ask questions. So for example, sometimes you'll see on my stories, I'll say, hit this story sticker or DM me this word. Whichever you feel most comfortable is best. But what I would suggest is, if it's a brand new, if you don't feel like you have a lot of trust in your audience yet, or you're building the momentum of trust, don't make it too hard for that person to have to jump through hoops to contact you. If you don't tell the person that they can DM you right now, they don't know that they can. If you leave up communication barriers because you're not breaking them or breaking down that resistance for them and saying DM me or hit this sticker, for example, to initiate the conversations, they may not, because they may not know that they can.
And I think as well, it's like, you don't need a snazzy sales page. Like when I'm doing a brand new offer, I create a minimum kind of sales page in a Google Doc. So at least I have got somewhere that I can point people to, but I don't build out the whole sales page. It takes so freaking long. And sometimes, you don't want to keep those resistant parts. It's like, get your offer out, see if people are interested. There's no point you spending hours and hours and hours creating a lovely funnel, as much as I love funnels, but it's like, you don't need to create this massive sales page with all the stuff if it's a brand new offer and you don't even know if people want it yet.
100%.
And things like that. But and even when I like pointing people to a resource, but I will also be like, or DM me and I'll send you the link, so at least you can have that, strike up that conversation if you want. But like you say, I love the little sticker or a DM the word, as easy as possible if it's using social media, because like you say, if they can just hit something, even if they're a bit like, oh, and they're a bit scared, you can then strike up the conversation with, hey, like, did you mean to hit that? But at least you can start a conversation.
100%. And I'm not going to say I'm not dissing websites, but it's a bit like giving context. Why you should always be giving context in your content, or especially in your call to actions. Why should somebody be looking on a completely different platform, or why should somebody even look at your offers? Why should they be reaching out to work with you? Always remember to give context in something. And if you are in conversations, like you said, and someone's like, can I get more information on this? Is there anywhere I can look more? That's when your website is a beam. You're like, yes, here you go. There's loads of information here, and you can send them to particular like parts of your website, etc. Or you can send them to particular parts of your landing pages, etc. But what I would say is try to make it as easy in the process, because like you said, these, like, investing is never easy. It's never like, nobody is like, here, take my money, please. I've got loads of it. I'm in abundance. Like, we believe we're in abundance at that time, and we know we're going to come back into money, because investing 9 times out of 10 is going to lead you to a better place financially, as well as like everything else. But you have to remember that person is terrified, and you're about to enter into a conversation that could be, like I said earlier, could change a massive movement or shift for them. So they're going through these processes all at the same time, and it's like a sensory overload. And then you're telling that person, jump through 5 hoops before you can actually talk to me. And fill out an application form, and then do this and then do that, when that person could just be sending you a message, or you could be jumping in and sending them a message if they allow you to, through invitation. And then that could just initiate a very nice conversation with that person before it even gets to the sales conversation.
And I think that's, and that was a big shift for me, was even just how to set up the invite, because like you say, we said at the beginning, cold DMs are horrible. People hate it. I had a couple last week, and they got themselves, friend requested me, and I thought, yeah, sort it, I'll accept it on Facebook. And then straight away it was a pitch, and it was like, just go away, unfriended straight away. Somebody else took the effort of asking a few questions, and it was a bit like, where's she going with this? I'm like, I know what you're doing, but I went along with it for a bit, and then it was like, and I was like, I'm a business coach too. Like, you're basically trying to say, like, I'll help you with your business. Like, have you actually even looked at my profile and looked at my stuff? And it's like, oh, just don't bother. But you'd say, like, having an invitation into the DMs, or just saying to people, like, if you want this, not just I'm ramming it down your throat. Like, if you are interested, if you want more information, if you blah, 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 then do this. Then that's where that icky salesy is gone.
100%.
Because then, like you say, when you're having a conversation, now it's like, how can I help you, rather than you trying to pitch yourself and sell it. And I know when I learned that shift, it was like a huge, oh my God, because I hated the DMs. That's why even still now, I still have some resistance to talking to people. But even doing Zoom calls and doing that kind of discovery call thing, I was only having people book on my calendar who had shown interest. So then it was like, hey, I saw that you're interested. How can I help you today? Let's chat. And then if they decide to buy, awesome. If they don't, okay, great. I'll give some help. Good luck.
100%. And I think that goes back to your content doing the legwork. If you have a sales content strategy, your audience will know at every point that anything that you put up is related to their offer and how you can help them. You no longer become the friendly tips page where you feel awkward to even broach a conversation about working with you or inside your services, because at all points you have positioned yourself that you are offering an offer, that you have a program for your ideal client.
Yeah.
So that's almost where the shift happens as well, because a lot of the time people have the resistance to like direct sales content or any type of sales content, because they say, I don't want to feel like my audience is constantly being sold to. But if your audience don't feel like at all points you're there to promote an offer that you can empower and help them with, then when you do eventually start to want to take on clients or speak about your offer, you're going to feel super awkward. Whereas if you set the stance from the very beginning of setting up your business that you have an offer that's going to help your ideal client to overcome a struggle and reach a goal or desire, then at all points your audience is expecting you to talk about that offer. I talk about my offer 3 times a day. And it's in fact, my business is booming better than ever.
Yeah. And it's like, at the end of the day, people haven't chosen to follow you because they just want a new friend, mostly. Like, especially when it's a business profile on Instagram or whatever, they've chosen to follow you, and in the most part because they saw that, oh, this person does this, I could do a bit of help with that. Like, yes, maybe they may not be ready to buy straight away as soon as they start following you, but that's the point. They'll then start seeing what you're about, what kind of content. Maybe they'll binge a few of your posts and your videos, watch you for a bit. But yeah, if you're not letting people know, like, because we all know free content only gives so much of that transformation. You need to invest. And if you want to get the full transformation, like, you're not going to get that just from some few carousels and reels and videos kind of thing. It's like, that comes from the behind the scenes stuff. And if you don't tell people that you've got that, then yeah, it's wasting. And it's a case of sometimes you just got to practice, haven't you? It's trial and error. You just need to keep doing it. And we are not feeling afraid to sell. Like you said, you're talking about your offer multiple times a day, and business is brilliant. And we need to be selling. I know I don't sell enough because I'm just so busy doing other things. I think, shit. Yeah. But one of my main things with every day is sell today. Doesn't matter how big or small. It could be just a couple of little story slides. It could be something bigger. But if you're sending an email to my list, it's like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but you need to be selling every day. And
100%. The way the reframe there is, the more you sell, the more people you help. The more people will get the message that they're ready and you're ready to help them. Yeah, they're ready to make this massive shift in their life or business, and you're there to do it at every step of the way. You're there to work with them, and they may not be ready today, but they might be ready tomorrow. Yeah. So if you sold today and they didn't buy, but you didn't sell tomorrow and they were ready, then you've just missed a massive opportunity to help that person. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this conversation. I think it's fantastic. So I want to just, because I know we've talked so much today, and there's some real core things that come down to creating that selling content. And I know you've got a fab resource that can help people kind of go through part of that process. So plug away, Nadine, like tell people what you can give them to help them if they just need to kind of bring this together in a way to help them with a bit of a process of getting that selling content working better for them.
Yeah, so I have a resource. It's actually called oh my God, I forgot the name of my own freebie. It's called, I think it's called Camera Confidence.
Yeah, it's something confidence, selling confidence.
Oh my God, I actually need to double check
I've
that.
got it. I've downloaded it. It's brilliant.
It's that camera confidence. I think camera selling camera
We'll
confidence.
put details in the
I
show
need to double
notes, so
check
don't
that.
worry.
But basically what it does is it helps you to build up your confidence, not just in your with the camera and getting your face to camera confidence increased, but the way to increase your camera confidence is to be confident in what you're saying.
Yeah.
Confident in who you're speaking to, know what you're speaking about, know what you need to say, know the language that you're going to say. And then inside, I also have very practical tips of how to create your first stories, how to create better story sequences so that it leads people on a journey, like the buyer's journey, like I spoke about earlier, from problem to position yourself as the solution into leading into a call to action. And I actually have sequences ready made inside of this resource that you can then follow for yourself, and they're ones that you can plug in and just do from the get-go. I also have little directions on things you may not have even thought about, like how to position the script that you're going to say on your story so that you're confidently saying it and you don't forget what you're going to say. Because a lot of people come to me saying, Nadine, I don't know what to say. I'm in complete paralysis of what to say inside my content, whether that be on camera or off, whether it just be in a post. But the tips inside this will help you to then become confident in what you're saying, and therefore you'll have more confidence in the type of content to create that's going to be for sales, but also getting yourself onto camera then to speak in your stories, go live, etc., what comes with that. And in turn will turn into a trustworthy audience. You're going to have an audience that trusts you enough to then buy from you and invest in your services. And that will lead to you building an ever-growing business. And these are foundations. These are foundations that you cannot skip. And the fact that this is a free resource, people were like, oh my God, I was expecting to pay for this. So
yeah, it was great, and it just gives people sometimes a structure. Like sometimes if you just are a bit like overwhelmed, confused, sometimes just having a bit of a structure, like you say, with story sequences to know how to take people on that journey. And then it becomes second nature. You'll be doing it out of no time. So yeah, we'll put details of this freebie.
Find out the name of this.
I'm pretty sure I think it is Camera to Confidence, and it's something like that. But yeah, we'll put the link in and around. So check around this video or this podcast episode wherever you are. We will put details of that resource and how you can follow Nadine. But you can learn a lot just from watching Nadine's content and how she structures her story sequences. Like I'm always going, I need to do better at some of these things. But it's great because it shows you how it can be done, and it shows you how easy it can be. And if you're like me, you get sucked in, you're like, oh my God, that everything. I'm like, I want to buy it. So it works. She knows her thing. She knows her stuff. So yeah, make sure you go and follow Nadine. She is fab on Instagram. She shared a lot of great content and you'll learn a lot. And we will link everything that we can in this episode. God, we could talk forever about this. But I think we've covered so many great things. And I think it's this kind of stuff I always find, even just for myself, sometimes you have to circle back around and do this. If you see that things aren't working, sometimes you have to go back to basics, don't you? You have to kind of go, have I perhaps lost my way a bit? Let's come back and go through some of these foundational pieces again. That's back to basics is always my go-to. If things have really kind of gone to shit, I'll go, right, let's go back to basics. Sometimes it's, okay, maybe I'm not being specific enough, or I'm not being clear enough, or my messaging might be confusing, or my offer doesn't really feel aligned anymore. Maybe I need to tweak that. There's things that you can do. And when it comes to messaging, that's got to be clear for you, because if you're not clear and you're not aligned, that you need to get sorted out first, and then get your offers, get your messaging clear for your audience, so then they know, oh my God, this is for me. Oh my God, yes, this is what I need. And then they know the path to working with you and doing that. So thank you so much, Nadine. You've shared so much amazingness with everybody today. I can't wait to get this out to everyone, and hopefully people can put some things into action that they've learned today. And do let us know, how things go and what big takeaways and ahas you got from this episode, and we can share them with Nadine, so she can give us some love, because she's shared so much. Any final kind of words of wisdom, leaving thoughts you'd like to leave people with today?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing. I've really, really enjoyed it. But I think if you're going to take anything away, it's that remember the bigger impact that you're going to have on someone's life or business. Remember that it's bigger than what you're literally doing with them in that moment. They could be making massive shifts that's going to make a difference for what happens in their life or business a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. And if you consistently see the bigger picture in the shift that you can make for somebody else, then you will easily see that your business is also going to grow and scale into bigger and better than you can even imagine what's happening right now.
I love that.
And also, don't be afraid to talk about yourself. Don't be afraid to sell. Yes. Everybody needs something.
I love that, because it's not about the tactics of do this particular sequence with your stories and use. It's actually remember why you're doing this in the first place. How do you want to help people? How do you want them to feel, and taking that step back. So I love that. And I think that's such a great place and I think reminder that we all need. It's because we can get stuck in the weeds of this, that, and the other. And I know that I can definitely get guilty of that too. So I think that's a really good reminder for everybody to remember why we're doing this, why we're working our balls off, working so hard. It's remembering, actually, when you give people that solution and you help somebody with that outcome that they're looking for, that transformation, that's what it's all about, and how fulfilling that is. And it's all about fulfillment. It's we don't do what we do just for shits and gigs. We do it because we want to be fulfilled, and obviously we want to be paid well for doing it as well, and building that lifestyle that we want. But it all comes down to how much impact we can make. So love it.
100%.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nadine. I hope so. Do make sure that you check around this episode for all of the resources, how to follow Nadine, and anything else that we think you will find useful. Join us next time for another episode, and we will see you all very soon. So take care. Bye.